Rusty, thank you. To breaking news before you go now. One person is recovering after a cutting. Authorities were called to an area just south of the Bob Carey pedestrian bridge just before 3:30 this morning. Douglas County officials tell us the victim was taken to the hospital by private car.
Also breaking, Omaha fire crews are called out to an early morning garage fire. It happened just after 1 a.m. near 37th and Boyd. The good news is there was no car in the garage at the time. There were no injuries to report either.
And more breaking news here at the Alert Desk. We are learning more about the Monaco explosion that injured 3 people late last night. Monaco's chief prosecutor says the suspect who placed that device acted alone. And in their latest update just minutes ago, the suspect was described as wearing a black jacket, light-colored pants, white shoes, and a black hat that partially conceals his face. He's also still at large. Authorities say he ran into neighboring France. Right now, one of the 3 victims is in life-threatening condition. A second is a child, and the third is a reported Ukrainian tycoon. Cerise?
Maria, thank you. More top stories before you go. A man is in custody after a single car crash. It happened on the eastbound on-ramp to I-480 from the North Freeway. Police say the 58-year-old driver was taken to the hospital with critical but non-life-threatening injuries. He was cited for DUI and careless driving.
An Omaha man who pled guilty to second-degree murder is set to be sentenced today. Prosecutors say that Brandon Brewer shot 37-year-old Rebecca Leitner 4 times at an apartment near 72nd and Jones back in January of 2025, then tried to run before police then arrested him.
Also today, Travis Tierney, a former Nebraska brain surgeon awaiting trial for child sex assault, will be back in court. He's one of several men accused of sneaking into the basement of a West Omaha home to have sex with a 15-year-old.
Well, the man charged in a deadly accidental shooting will be sentenced today. Fook Lee was charged after his 3-year-old daughter shot herself in the face with an unsecured gun. He faces up to 20 years in prison.
Also today, Omaha City Council will vote on a food truck ordinance in the city. The original proposal would have forced operators to return to a commercial kitchen every 24 hours. That requirement was eventually removed.